that real-time capability. And I also think, big data is as much a set of technologies as it is a mindset. That mindset being open to experimenting with data and really kind of trusting your data and going where the data takes you.
In its efforts to preserve today's interconnected culture, the Internet Archive has achieved a milestone in its collection of 10 petabytes of digital data, which is the equivalent of 10 million gigabytes. So, based on the big data definition you just gave, do you see this as a big data story or one with a storage angle? What's your take?
Well, I think this one sounds more like a storage type of story. I think where it becomes big data, again, it's about a mindset. It's about turning all that data into insights and taking actions on those insights that really impact. In the case of business, the bottom line. In the case of social services, the impact the citizenry. I really look at that more of as a storage story. That's a lot of data, certainly 10 petabytes. But when it comes to big data, for me, the key is making that data valuable and actionable, not just storing it.
According to a release from the MIT News Office, Associate Professor Divovrat Shah says his algorithm model has been 95% accurate during testing and has been able to predict trends hours before they appear on Twitter's trending list. So, can you explain to us how this algorithm works?
Well, from my understanding, the new algorithm relies more on really the ability to ingest and take in larger amounts of data across distributed systems. Traditionally, when we're talking about algorithms and data models, there's certain human assumptions that come into play. Probably the easiest example to understand is the thing about the housing crisis. Before the housing bubble burst, the assumption in all the models was that housing prices would continue to go up and they would never go down. So that assumption was built into the models. Well, guess what? The assumptions were incorrect. So to the extent that you can take out the human element in the algorithm, in the models that you apply to data, the more accurate they're likely to be.
Now, is Twitter interested in this type of research?
Oh, absolutely. They currently are using their own algorithms to display, what's trending in real time. It's certainly, they're always looking to improve that algorithm and that process because really it translates into dollars for them. The more accurate they are, and the earlier they can predict or display what's trending, which is what people want when they come to Twitter. They want to see what's happening now in real time. So the better they can do that, the more they can charge basically for advertisers and sponsors who want to attach their brand or their message to those trending topics.
Explain to us some ways that Twitter would be able to adapt and utilize such a tool.
Well, like I said, I mean, they want to use it. They could potentially use it to improve their existing service. I think, what it would require in terms of internally adapting. It's just a matter of they've got some really great data scientists at Twitter. They have very experienced in machine learning. I think this is something they'll probably take a look at and consider building into their models. They're certainly, they have some secret sauce that we're not aware of in terms of how they build their algorithms. So they may have a different take. They may consider their algorithms superior at this point. But it's with big data and with machine learning, it's all about adapting. So I have no doubt that Twitter and the data science team there is always looking for ways to improve their algorithms.
Jeff, how does Shaw's algorithm avoid the same obstacles traditionally faced by machine learning algorithms?
Well, again, it's all about reducing human assumptions to the extent that you can. When you start to think about, predictions of, in this case, Twitter topics, trending topics on Twitter, or if you think in other areas where you're interested in what's trending and trying to identify it as early as possible, we have certain assumptions of that, what that would look like on a time series graph, for instance, and it's often steady for a while, and then you'll see a very dramatic uptick in interest. But that's not always how it works. Sometimes there could be a dip before there's an uptick. So basically, the idea is if you can remove those human assumptions to the extent possible, that will improve your ability and focus more on what the data tells you. That will give you a better opportunity to really predict more accurately and earlier.
Beyond Twitter, what other areas could use an algorithm like this?
Well, there's plenty of areas where certainly, knowing what's going to happen further in advance and as accurately as possible could be beneficial. I think certainly when it comes to dealing with, let's just say, the hurricane which we just saw come through the eastern seaboard. It was devastating to areas of New Jersey and New York and Connecticut. And to the extent that you can predict more accurately where that storm is going to hit and the impact it's going to have on not just on the physical infrastructure, but also on displacing people, how it's going to impact supply chains in terms of getting